Hello and welcome to Common Minded Music, a new project by me. That's me, the guy talking. Hi, my name's Christian. And I am going to use this channel to talk about music from the perspective of someone who doesn't really know how to critique music. I'm hoping to give you just a common perspective. So, it's going to be less, I appreciate the arpeggios and other music terms. See, that's what we're starting with. That's the bar here. Instead, I'm going to be talking in terms that hopefully people on my level can understand. But today, the thing that brought this channel about is I have discovered Muse, which is a very silly thing to say because Muse, first of all, have been around for a while. Second of all, are my kind of music and always have been. And third of all, have been popular within my family my entire life. So a lot of the time, I've heard these songs before, but I've never really stopped to go out of my way to listen to them myself and appreciate them for myself. So here's how this is going to work. I am going to listen through an entire album. Today it's going to be Black Holes and Revelations. I considered doing it in chronological order, but I thought it'd be more fun if we mixed and matched. And I am going to rank each and every song, which may be interesting because some songs are a little bit more, atmosphere, vibes, mood-based, and some of them are more like, cult classics, pop hits. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I can't listen to the music with you. You're gonna need to pull up your own app of choice, whether that be YouTube Music or Apple Music or the other one that's funding terrible things right now, or maybe just a CD if you got it handy. We could go old school. Do you have it on tape? Was this before tape? Anyway, I'll go listen to Take a Bow, which is the first song, and I will come back and I will talk about it. Also, before I start, I should mention I haven't listened to every song on this album. I've never listened to this album all of the way through, but we'll get to that as we get to each song. Okay, so Take a Bow. I've never listened to this before. It's very much an intro track. I do love an intro track, and as an intro track, it sets the mood for the rest of the album. And, I've heard people describe Muse as space rock, and this very much feels like space rock. It feels like, before we even get to the lyrics, it feels very much like my instant picture was like, we're zooming in on a galaxy, or maybe like a solar system, and like we're definitely like zooming in on a setting. And I do really like that. And then you get to the lyrics and it feels like this condemnation, like this sarcastic condemnation of, at first I thought it was like a political thing, and it could be a political thing about like, someone who's running the country. The song's called Take a Bow. It's talking about taking a bow for the things that you've done, but it also then talks about condemning the world, like the entire world with what you've done. So that makes me think again, we're going back to more science fiction territory, perhaps. Or it could just be more of like a message to the human race in general. Take a bow for how you've ruined your planet with pollution and stuff like that. There's, like with all good music, there are several takes you could have for the meaning of the song. And I'm sure, by the way, as we talk about this, I'm sure that there is context that I am not aware of. I'm sure that the artist will have talked about the meaning behind the songs that they wrote, but I'm going to be coming at this from my perspective and taking away my personal, what the songs make me think about. I think that's the best way to do this, so apologies if I get things wrong and I misinterpret things in ways that people wouldn't expect, but that's how art works. Anyway, Take a Bow. It's not exactly something I could see myself going back to and listening in its own right. It's not something that made me excited or feel a certain way. It's definitely the intro to an album, but it's not one that I would skip. It is a decent tune. We will leave it there. Up next, we've got Starlight, which I have listened to before, and, spoiler alert, have been listening to quite a lot recently. Okay, Starlight. This is one of the reasons I wanted to make this channel, not just this video, but this channel. I want to talk about this song, man. This is one of the best songs I've ever heard, and I've only just started listening to it. Obviously, I've heard it before. I'm familiar with, like, the instrumentalization, that's not the word. I keep struggling with this word. Instrumentals. I like the instrumentals. Do 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 do. That stuff. Heard all that before. You probably heard it on like adverts and stuff over time, over the years. But going out of your way and listening to this song, there's a reason it has 327 million plays on YouTube Music. It's peak. It's absolute peak. I love how, in contrast to the upbeat sounding instrumentals of the music, you've got these deeply tragic and depressing lyrics. It's such an effective effect, like, just, and the lyrics as well, it gives you the impression of someone, like, on the most, like, literal level, it gives you the impression of someone traveling away from Earth and everything that they have ever known and ever loved to chase someone or something out into the stars, and they're questioning whether it's even worth it anymore. This ship has taken me away from everyone, from the memory of everyone who cares if I live or die. Sorry, it's hard to remember the lyrics when you're not actually actively listening to the instruments. But yes, I love this so much. I've been reading the comic book Invincible lately, and for whatever reason, this just feels like the perfect fit for Invincible. I don't know if they've ever used it in the show, but it's the same kind of vibe of, like, this outwardly, bright and colourful and maybe not light-hearted, but it's like a superhero comic, and, it's very science fiction, and then the actual tone of the thing is, like, very tragic and upsetting, and I feel like it's a good fit, and if they haven't used it in the show, they absolutely should. But yeah, Starlight, I've been listening to this on repeat for the last few weeks. It's so good, man. And I love that constant, is it a constant conceit? Or a constant refrain? I don't know music terms, but I love the constant, I just wanted to hold you in my arms. I love the repetition of that throughout the song. And the last one, or the second to last one, I won't try and do an impression of it because I will butcher it, but anyone who's familiar with the song knows in the outro, the way that he says it, his voice kind of cracks or breaks, or like he elongates the phrase, I just wanted to hold you in my arms, and it's so good. You feel it. It's yeah. Anyway, moving on. Next classic song, Supermassive Black Hole. I'm gonna go listen to that and get back to you. Okay, so Supermassive Black Hole. If the play counter didn't tell me a different story, I would wager a bet that this is the song that most people think of when they think of Muse. In fact, YouTube Music hasn't always been around, so we have got, data skewed from later years, so that could still be the case. But anyway, Supermassive Black Hole, I'm sure a lot of people know it from that Twilight scene as well. Here's my first potential controversial take. Not peak. It's great. It's a great song. I do like it. But it's, it sounds good. It's fun. It's exciting. But it's never quite moved me the way some other songs have, in that kind of a way. And also lyrically, it is just kind of, I'm attracted to you, which isn't quite as compelling as something like Starlight, in my personal opinion. So I'm gonna just leave it in certified bop. Please don't crucify me. And now we get to the second reason that I wanted to start this channel and this project, because Starlight is the song on this album that everyone loves and that I love. Map of a Problematique, whatever, is provably one of the lesser played songs on this album. It's still 20 million plays, it's nothing to sniff at, but this is my favourite song that I've heard from Muse so far, and to be entirely clear, I've not heard some of these songs yet, but Map of a Problematique, something you will learn if you stick with me throughout this project is that I love instrumentation. I really need to get a handle on however we're going to talk about that particular aspect of music. But yes, while I love lyrics and vocals, and I do think Starlight has just the upper hand in that department. I love just the way that music can move you without anyone saying anything to you. And that's not saying this is an instrumental track, by the way. There are lyrics to this track as well, but it is not the lyrics to this track which move me. Although they do help. They're not bad or anything. I do like them. But this track, for me, it just builds and builds and builds. And there is a line, if we are going to talk about the lyrics, which is talking about life flashing before your eyes. And I think that kind of solidified the way I visualize this song when I listen to it. And that's as, like, this person balancing on some kind of platform while the winds of memory and life kind of assail them. And at various points in the song, they are kind of like losing their balance and nearly falling. But then by the end, they do kind of like stand tall while the winds get stronger than ever. Like, that's just the way I visualize this song while I listen to it. And the second time I ever listened to the song, I did kind of shed a tear. It's so good. I know it's probably, if I had to guess, the lyrical intent is probably based around a troubled relationship, but that's not really the way that I interpret the song. I interpret it more as like just dealing with life in general, and it really moves me. I think this is probably my favorite Muse song so far that I've ever heard, and my only complaint is I wish it was longer. Like, the outro's a little abrupt. I would like it to go on for one more verse and maybe end a little bit more smoothly. But you could argue that the outro being abrupt also works for that reading of the song that I'm talking about anyway. So, yeah, when I talk about how everyone has a different experience with music, hopefully I'm able to get that across here. I love this song so much. But up next is one of the absolute lesser played songs on this album, the second least played song according to YouTube Music, Soldier's Poem. Let's go and listen to that and see what we think about it. Okay, so this one's interesting. This one isn't really a song, it's a poem that's just kind of being performed. And it's being performed in a similar way, I would say, despite being completely different, to Starlight, in that it's very tragic, quote-unquote, lyrics, very tragic words which are being said, but it's being performed in this kind of almost dreamlike, like entranced kind of a way, which does add a layer. It gives you the feeling of like this soldier maybe drifting off to sleep for the final time, and they're talking about how unfair it is that they've been sent off to fight in this war, and I don't know if it's explicitly stated that they die or are dying so far from home, but that's definitely the impression that you get. With this song, I'm realizing I might need to adjust my tier names, because I'm definitely, naming them with the intention of like, oh, this is, it's weird to call this a certified bop, right? It's weird to call it a decent tune, but it definitely doesn't belong in the not for me category. But at the same time, it's definitely kind of a mid-album track. It's not the kind of thing that I would go out of my way to listen to, but as part of the overall album listening experience, it's interesting to have in there. I would be interested to go and learn about the background behind this track, and like, I'm kind of guessing that Matt Bellamy or like members of Muse didn't write this and it's actually a recital of a real poem, or maybe it's just meant to be kind of like imagining what it must be like to be a soldier dying off in a foreign country somewhere without feeling like you're actually fighting for the right cause. Avenged Sevenfold have a similar song, actually. I do want to do a video going through Avenged Sevenfold albums, but staying on track here, I'm not really sure how to rank this one, because I think it's effective at what it does, but it's not exactly like an exciting or like repeatable listening experience. I might have to put this in decent tune, with the caveat that this isn't me saying it's like a, near the bottom of the tier list bad song or anything, which is kind of why these are all complimentary, and then the only negative one is not for me, right? But yeah, Soldier's Poem is an interesting one. I want to learn more about that. Okay, then there's Invincible, and this is another one that, I'm listening to it and I recognize the sound of it from having been played in my house as I was growing up and stuff. But I've never actually gone out of my way to stop and listen to it. And it's interesting that this one comes directly after Soldier's Poem, because it starts with this kind of a marching band. So you continue with this almost like, like army theme. Although I don't really know, because it also, the lyrics make it sound more like this soft revolution. It's very like gentle in a weird way. It's very like encouraging. It's like there's words of positive affirmation in there. But like the song is quite transformative. It like builds and changes as it goes on, which makes me think maybe it's supposed to be talking about growing and changing throughout a course of years. Yeah, I don't know, this one's interesting. It's not like a banger or anything. It's not like super exciting to listen to, but it's nice. I like it. I might put it with certified bop. Yeah, it's interesting. Moving on. Okay, next up is Assassin, and this is the first song that I've been listening to for the first time today to really make me go, oh. That's always a good reaction to get out of me. This is an action song. This is a combat song. This is a song you play when people are fighting in a movie, and it's great. It's a banger. I think this is going to be our first banger alert, you know. It's not on the same level as Starlight or Map of the Problematique, and I know that putting it above Supermassive Black Hole might also be sacrilege, but I think it firmly belongs in this category because it's great. Like, it's maybe a little bit less refined, if that makes sense. That's the way my brain wants to talk about it. A little bit less refined than some of these other songs. But I think it's rough on purpose. Some of these songs at least. And yeah, if Invincible is like this kind of almost gentle, like cool to like action, this is the action. This is where it leads to. I'm not saying that this is a concept album and that every song has to play sequentially and tell a story, but I can't help but think of it that way sometimes. Okay, so I spent most of my time listening to Exopolitics thinking about how Supermassive Black Hole at least deserves to be in the banger alert. I think that definitely sits more comfortably with me. But yeah, Exopolitics, I might be getting like fatigue of listening to new music for too long in a row, which sounds weird because I'm just listening for an album, but it didn't really do anything for me. It kind of feels like the kind of song that a friend would show you to be like, this band's really cool, and you would listen to the song and you would go, yeah, those were noises. I'm sure this is someone's favorite Muse song. I'm sure I'm being crazy right now. Maybe I will feel differently in a few months if I listen through this album a few more times, but they're just... It wasn't a bad song, it just wasn't really for me, which is why I named this category this way, go figure. It just didn't really do much for me. I didn't really hear anything in the lyrics to really help me form an opinion. It just seemed to be a song about, you know, politicians putting satellites into space, and, you know, that kind of thing. And sure, that's a song topic. I don't know, let me know if I'm being crazy on this one, but Exopolitics did not move me in any particular direction. Okay, and then we've got City of Delusion, which is more like it. City of Delusion is another song that feels like it builds. It starts off feeling like almost like a mood piece, like it's kind of giving you this impression of this city, at least in the instrumentals. And of course the lyrics are of someone who very much does not like that city, calls it the City of Delusion, and wants to tear it all down, and the song builds and becomes more come on, Christian, you made this channel to test yourself. You're gonna learn how to talk about music. It feels like this person who is telling us about this city, events are kind of like coming to fruition around them, and it's becoming more chaotic, I guess. And I think that's really helped by the underscoring of, like, you have like this typical Muse sound with like the guitars and everything, but you also have this, oh god, what instrument is it? You get the impression that this is, oh god, I don't know, South America somewhere, or maybe I was getting like Arabia at some points. So yeah, tell me I'm crazy if I'm crazy, but this just seems like a really fun song. And maybe my thoughts on it aren't fully formed, but I think it's a certified bop. I really enjoyed it. Okay, so Hoodoo is another one of those, you listen to it over the course of the album, but you probably wouldn't go out of your way to listen to it songs. It's a dirge, I guess. And it's someone you get the sense of regret coming from it. I very much did enjoy the lyric, which, oh god, can I remember it? I just heard it. It was, I have had recurring nightmares that I was loved for who I am, but I missed the opportunity to become a better man. I think I like that. That's good. However, it's just not a good song. It didn't really resonate with me. I wasn't excited to go and listen to it again. You know, like, there are sad songs that I am excited to go and listen to again, and this isn't one of them. This just sounds like wallowing. If I had to be mean about it, I don't have to be mean about it, I'm sorry. But it does. It just comes across as wallowing, and I would probably just skip it on most album listens. And I'll probably talk about this more as I wrap this video up, but I very much get the impression that Muse have the hits, but then they have the kind of weird experimental album pieces, which obviously get a lot less plays, and potentially for a reason. But yeah, Hoodoo, sorry, that's also going in the not for me column. Let me know if you like it though. And then, of course, we have Knights of Sidonia, which I mean, I don't even have to come to the conclusion for you to know where that's going. That's going in peak. Knights of Sidonia is not a song, it is an audio drama. Knights of Sidonia takes place on Mars, and it's about a gunslinger chasing down an outlaw, and you've got the build up and the chase, and you just see it all in your mind's eye. Like, it plays out like cinema, and then you've got the battle that takes place at the end, and it's just so masterfully done. There are a few songs out there which I feel like you could compare notes with other people who have visualized it in their mind's eye, and you will come up with broadly the same sequence of events. Like, you can hear the horse's hoofbeats in the drum track in the first half of the song as the gunslinger chases the outlaw. It's so good. You've got the viewpoint of, I feel like, mostly the outlaw, but I don't know, it's cool. I don't need to tell you that Knights of Sidonia is cool. You didn't click on this video because you needed someone else to tell you that Knights of Sidonia is cool. It's probably the only Muse song I really listened to before I decided to go and quote-unquote discover Muse for myself. Like, this is one I would listen to occasionally, and I love it. I love it very much. I do still love them in this sequence. I still think Mappa the Problematique is my favourite on the album, and Starlight comes after that, and then Knights of Sidonia comes after that. But yes, it firmly belongs in peak. It is peak. And then finally we get our outro track, Glorious, which, you know, I was expecting an outro track. It is an outro track. You get the sense that something is wrapping up here, especially in the outro to the outro track, if you get what I'm saying. But this is also a really fun track in and of itself. It builds to a crescendo, and honestly, it's just great to listen to. I do not know how Muse come up with their songs. It's unlike any other music you've heard. It's honestly kind of fascinating. I would call this a certified bop. But yeah, I guess just to talk about Muse in general and this album in general, because now we do have a general idea of like the kinds of tracks I really like and the kinds of tracks which pass me by a bit. Yeah, they're really unique sounding, and as I mentioned earlier, you do get the hits and you do get like the kind of more experimental stuff which doesn't necessarily work so great as just a song to go and listen to, but is still of value for the things that it is doing, like Soldier's Poem. But yeah, musicians are just magicians in my eyes, because I have no musical talent of my own. I had a few drumming lessons at one point, and apparently I was pretty decent, but other than that, yeah, I don't know how to read music or write music or come up with music, and I don't know where it comes from, and the people who make it are magic, and Muse might be the most magic of all because their music sounds unlike anything I've heard anywhere else, and that it you know, they've made stuff which can really move you, whether that's moving you to fist pump the air, or moving you to tears. It's fantastic, and I'm looking forward to talking about more of their albums and more of their songs, because I haven't just been exploring stuff from Black Holes and Revelations. There's other albums that I would like to make videos about too, and I will, especially if you let me know the kinds of albums you want me to check out. I will also take this opportunity to tell you about my music tastes and the kind of things that we're going to be doing here on this channel, such as you know, I want to explore albums, and it is mostly going to be in this format, by the way, in tier list format, because I think it's the easiest way to really kind of like, you know, visualize which tracks you like and why, and I can listen to them to give you my most fresh perspective on them before I stop and talk about them again and stuff like that. It's not to say this is objective, everyone has to feel this way about this. You know, there's a lot of that attitude in music discussion. I've noticed a lot of oh, this is absolutely the best artist out there, and if you like this other artist, then you have no sense of taste, you have an awful taste in music and you're terrible. It's weirdly it's quite emotional, a lot of discussion I've noticed, but then I don't frequent like music discussion boards or anything like that, so maybe that's just what I've noticed in my life with people. But yeah, sorry, to get back to what I was saying about the kinds of bands I would like to cover, I would like to talk about Avenged Sevenfold, as I've already mentioned, one of my favourite bands of all time. I would like to discuss music from Linkin Park, 30 Seconds to Mars, Paramore. I feel like I'm missing some people, but yeah, you know, not just those, but also I want to cover game soundtracks and movie soundtracks and, show soundtracks and stuff like that. A lot of my recent years in life, I've mostly spent listening to soundtracks like, the Game of Thrones soundtrack or the Attack on Titan soundtrack or the Final Fantasy XIV soundtrack. It might be, maybe a different facet to this channel. I don't know if there's going to be a lot of crossover from people who like listening to bands and people who like listening to soundtracks, but I really do want to cover both aspects of things, so let me know. And also, if this does garner interest, I will be happy to take requests for bands that you think I might like that I can go and listen to. I do live in fear that I might go and listen to one where I put it all in Not For Me though, and what kind of a video would that make for? But yeah, these videos take a lot longer to record than they do to watch because I'm listening to every song before I go and talk about it. So yeah, I can't just crank these out super often, but let me know if you enjoy it and I will make more. Thanks for sticking by and listening to me rambling. I hope my common-minded takes on music was understandable, and I will catch you in the next one, I suppose.